The Trumpet Daily program begins right now.
Today's world news, what it means, where it's taking us.
I bring you the one and only possible message of world peace.
This is a message of hope, tremendous hope. And he said unto me, you must prophesy again.
The Trumpet Daily program begins right now.
Let's start by clearly saying what this is. This is one of the most stunning national security stories we've had in decades. This is an extraordinary breach of security here. And recall, of course, that Donald Trump's first presidency was launched on the heels of a campaign about Hillary Clinton's alleged mishandling of classified and sensitive information. Nothing compared to this.
We'll get to the
This is reckless, irresponsible, and dangerous. Who are some of these people that Donald Trump has put into the most sensitive national security positions in America? This whole Trump administration is filled with lackeys and incompetent cronies. I'm not talking about any particular individual, though I will note that the Secretary of Defense, who was on that chain, has got to be the most unqualified person ever to lead the Pentagon in American history.
But I just feel like this is so much worse than anything we've ever seen for people operating at this kind of a level. Will Republicans care about it?
Our military is being put at risk and our national security is being put at risk. We can't stand this any longer. I mean, Pete Hegseth, which everybody knows he's unqualified to be the defense secretary, is responsible here. Donald Trump should fire Pete Hegseth.
I didn't think this administration could still shock me. But today's story, which I read about in The Atlantic, was beyond belief. It was like, holy crap, on steroids. This is another example of carelessness, sloppiness, and a crowd that's not ready for prime time.
These are national security secrets. These are national security information that's putting us all at risk.
So it's actually remarkable to me that as we talk right now, Pete Hegseth has not resigned. He should absolutely resign. He may have violated the Espionage Act.
The whole story is, I mean, how is this real life?
Of course, some heads should roll. Will they? I don't know. But I mean, this is, again, what happens when you stuff the administration full of loyalists and toadies as opposed to people who are experienced and competent. I mean, this.
Yeah, they said some really bad things about Europe, and J.D. Vance took a little swipe at Trump, but that maybe he didn't understand what he was doing. But the most important thing here is somebody needs to lose their job over this.
I mean, this is the worst thing to ever happen to America. It's worse than 9/11. It's worse than Pearl Harbor. They've been without a shiny object for a couple of months now, even though they're still on the attack. And obviously the judges are doing their part to slow down the Trump agenda. But they've got another shiny object that they can focus in on. Heads must roll over this chat with Trump officials that Jeffrey Goldberg, the Obama disciple, he just happened to be in the chat. You're listening to Stephen Flurry, and this is the Trumpet Daily. We appreciate you joining us on today's show. You can get to the live video stream of this program at trumpetdaily.com or at the Rumble channel, rumble.com/Trumpet Daily. Let's get to the most important story of the day, since the guys were laughing on my way up. The sudden surprising rise of beard transplants. There you go. That's at The Guardian. It's an actual story. It's one that we had a few laughs over this morning. A beard? It's like my daughter said this morning. You remember the time when, to change our appearance for the better, we used to, exercise and look at our diets? Those days are long gone. I mean, now you got to get the transplant. You got to get the beard. You got to get surgery to put in the beard. There you go. Some comic relief here to begin today's show. And really, it's not unlike what the talking heads are doing. They're not even really getting the point of what was revealed yesterday in that chat, which is you see the Trump administration positioning itself away from Europe yet again. We'll get to that in just a second, how the Europeans must be reacting to this discussion over the Suez Canal and how Europe is freeloading off the United States. How do you think the European elites are taking to this message? First NATO, now, the Oval Office showdown, abandoning Ukraine, cozying up to Putin. And now here's the vice president, together with the Secretary of Defense, trashing Europe for being a freeloader. It's pretty amazing. But leave that aside. Heads have got to roll. You can see them going after Hegseth. They despise him. He's not qualified. You heard Jeffrey's there using all the Obama-like pregnant pauses to explain that he's the worst ever. Pete Hegseth. They're going after him. They should be going after Mike Waltz. He's the one that set up the chat, and evidently, if we're to believe the reports, he's the one that invited in the Atlantic's Jeffrey Goldberg. Waltz is more of an establishment Republican anyway, as our news gatherer said. If they're going to fire anybody, fire him and replace him with General Flynn. How about that? And maybe that'll happen. You talk about turning the tables on the radical left. Replace Waltz with General Flynn. Flynn has my endorsement. There you go. But how does Jeffrey Goldberg just happen? He's the one that, remember the story years ago? What was it? Our veterans, they're suckers and losers. That was in an Atlantic piece. How does Jeffrey Goldberg just have all of these Trump hit jobs land right in his lap? Yeah, he's just right there in this Signal chat. Which, all the messages, there's decryption and so on and so forth. But evidently, it's not the appropriate channel to handle classified information. And that's what we're told. This was classified. They're talking about bombing the Houthis, which they did, and it was a pretty effective strike. But then in the banter, most of the goods flowing through the Suez Canal, it's going to Europe, not the United States. And why won't Europe do something? So here it is again. Hey, you've got to build up your own defense. You need a stronger military. That's the unspoken message here. You have to provide for yourself. You got to stop being a freeloader. But you can expect the regime media to completely miss the point as and even with Jeffrey Goldberg, where are the tough questions for him? Well, look, if this is classified information, why'd you take screenshots of it and then show the whole world? And how rich to hear the radical left suddenly concerned about classified information. They weren't concerned about it when Hillary Clinton had those 30,000 emails. Yeah, she was just running business while working at the State Department, doing it in her basement on her own server. These people, the ones who are criticizing it now, they leak as a matter of regularity. It's happening all the time. Classified, sensitive, whatever the material is, leak it to the New York Times, leak it to the Washington Post. And so here comes Jeffrey Goldberg. He hates Trump and he loves Obama. That tells you everything you need to know. There's Jeffrey. How did he get into that chat? Scott Jennings at CNN, he questioned whether or not Waltz and Goldberg even know each other. And then you've got these other reports saying that a lot of the devices had signal on it when the new administration came in, meaning that they used it in Joe Obama time as well. But now it's Trump, and now it's Hegseth. So there you go. It's obviously, you heard it in the cold open. This is the worst ever. There's a hearing going on right now in the Senate. And this is all the Democrats can talk about. If it was so sensitive, as a good patriot, why wouldn't Jeffrey Goldberg just sit on it or at least make his presence known? He's in the chat, but he's not chatting. He's just there observing. And evidently Mike Waltz invited him in. There's a lot of things to scratch your head over on this. But don't just follow the shiny object. Don't just listen to what Morning Joe tells you about the significance here. Jeffrey Goldberg, he runs The Atlantic, and his title yesterday, "The Trump Administration Accidentally Texted Me Its War Plans." Well, if it was accidental, then how did you get in the chat? Just the title itself raises questions. Was it an accident, or were you invited into this chat on purpose? If that's the case, then there was no accident about it. It's obvious. People should have recognized this. And if you're the Secretary of Defense, if you're the Vice President, and you see some unknown number in this chat group, then you probably should have held your peace. But at the same time, in the discussion, they were saying, look, on the classified info, we'll send it through the appropriate channel. So they were talking as if Signal is commonly used, but not for classified discussions. But the Democrats are going to rush to attack Donald Trump, saying it was obviously classified. How could this ever happen? This is worse than 9/11. On and on and on they go. This is like drones. You know exactly the way they're going to come down on this. Listen to Scott Jennings from CNN, clip 2.
But I think they're still, based on what I've heard tonight, trying to figure out how it happened. I'm not sure the National Security Advisor, Walls, even knows Goldberg. In fact, I don't believe he knows him and has never met him. I did learn a few things in some of my conversations, if you're interested. One is that the Signal program was preloaded on a number of devices and agency computers in this circuit when they got there. So in their view, it was already in use. Number two, in some of the messages, they talk about needing to go to the high side computers, which is the classified system. So they clearly were knowing there was a line on what you could discuss in a chat like this versus classified system. Number three, there is a dispute over whether the term war plans is being exaggerated. And number four, look, I love the policy. It's well executed. You've got a thoughtful policy discussion going on. And we did what the Biden administration would not do, stop these people from harassing our shipping lanes and our boats and our Navy. So good on the Trump administration for reversing a bad policy.
So while there's Jennings pretty much blowing up the Democrat narrative that this was the worst security breach in the history of the United States. In decades, I think Jeffrey said. They want Hegseth out. Then, of course, they want to slow down the Trump agenda. They want to do everything that they can to make Trump look bad. And then, as I say, they're completely missing the whole point, the true significance of these messages that were made known to the whole world, thanks to Jeffrey Goldberg, thanks to The Atlantic. It says here, at this point, a fascinating policy discussion commenced. I think this is from Goldberg's piece. The account labeled J.D. Vance responded saying, I am out for the day doing an economic event in Michigan. And then Vance goes on to state, 3% of U.S. trade runs through the Suez. 40% of European trade does. So you see where he's going. The Suez is crucial to Europe. And why are we the ones that always has to defend Europe? Where is Europe? And this is interesting just to see this prophesied split between the United States and Europe, Germany in particular. I'll get to the headlines that we've had at the Trumpet from over the years. But note too, that this discussion revolves around the Suez Canal, which my father's talked about, how Iran may well use this to push at Germany. So you get America here again, just like in Europe, you get America saying, hey, it's not our problem. We only have 3% of our goods coming through that canal. Let Europe deal with it. And then if Iran gets more control, you can see where the push would really affect Europe. It would really affect Germany. I mean, again, this is significant. This is huge. And you're only going to get the truth, the significance, at thetrumpet.com or at the Key of David. A few minutes later, Michael Wallace's account posted a lengthy note about trade figures and the limited capabilities of European navies. Whether it's now or several weeks from now, it will have to be the United States that reopens these shipping lanes. Per the president's request, we're working with the DoD and state to determine how to compile the cost associated and to levy them on the Europeans. Europe has to pay their fair share. This is the message Europe hates. They hate being exposed as freeloaders. But here's the Trump administration being exposed for calling them freeloaders. These are the kinds of things that are usually reserved for, behind closed doors. But not now. I mean, if it's Europe, let them have it. If it's Canada, let them have it. Just as a contrast, if you watched yesterday's program, Witkoff talking with Tucker, saying about how much they respect Putin and Trump are such good friends. And of course, the Qataris, totally trustworthy people. We have respect for Iran and, Hamas is misunderstood. But then here's what they think about Europeans. Here's what they think about Germany. And then added to the mix, which you can't even really understand. Here's what we think about Canadians. They're freeloaders too. They're nasty negotiators. We're subsidizing them. They should be a 51st state. I mean, this world is in realignment in a dramatic and fast-paced way. It says here, the account identified as J.D. Vance addressed the message at 8:45. Saying, if you think we should do it, he's addressing it to Hegseth, then let's go. I just hate bailing Europe out again. I'm tired. This is the vice president of the United States. And you know what he said at the Munich conference, so they already hate him over there. But he's talking openly in this discussion with 16, 17 intel officials, plus Jeffrey Goldberg. Imagine that, who accidentally came into the chat. How did that happen? I guess Joe Scarborough's not curious about that. It's just the shiny object. What a security breach. Fire Pete Hegseth. Okay, we got the narrative. Here's the vice president saying, I just hate bailing Europe out again. And now it's out there for all the world to see. And they see it. They see it in Germany. They see it in Europe. Listen to this from Deutsche Welle, clip 3.
But this is more than a U.S. scandal, isn't it, in a sense? Because the chat mentioned so-called European freeloading. I mean, does Europe need to sit up and take note the way it was discussed in this chat?
Well, Europe, or the European Union, or NATO's European contingent should already be sitting up, and they should be for years. I think we know that that's very clear. But I'm glad you asked this question, because this, to me, was the most salient part of the bit that we've seen publicly. And this seems to be a real discrepancy here where, or should I say, it confirms the zero-sum worldview of Donald Trump and his administration, that even with them recognizing that from a U.S. perspective, having shipping lanes threatened in the Red Sea is a strategic and economic threat to the United States, they only see it as good for us or good for them, not good for everyone or bad for everyone. And this is not just doing a favor for somebody else, but that is exactly how they see it. And I found that really, really revealing, that this is not just posturing, it's not just politics to the public at some campaign event, but this really is how they think.
Yeah, it's how America thinks. And Europe doesn't like it, not one bit. You know, we don't want to focus too much on a shiny object here either. The deeper, the even more significant point to make here is that the beast power, that's like, I guess, page 39 of the newspaper. The rise of the beast power in Europe. Because, you know, we've got all this discussion. That's big news in Europe. You know, what they said about Europe being freeloaders. And then over here, well, we've got all this discussion about Pete Hegseth. And what gets overlooked? What gets ignored? The fact that every obstacle in the way of the formation of the seventh and final resurrection of the Holy Roman Empire is being removed. It's unbelievable. The Holy Roman Empire in prophecy. You need it. You need it. If you don't have it yet, Make sure you call our operators. The 800 number there is at the lower third. There's no cost, no obligation. I mean, Bible prophecy is coming alive. So much of it's being fulfilled. J.D. Vance says, I just hate bailing Europe out again. And then from the article, the administration has argued that America's European allies benefit economically from the U.S. Navy's protection of international shipping lanes. So we're tired of doing it. It's got to be America first. So we're more interested in Panama, the Panama Canal, because that's where all of our goods come through. But Suez, not so much. So you can see where it's headed. And then, I mean, I gave you Vice President Vance's comment. It says here the user identified as Hegseth responded 3 minutes later to the Vice President. I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic. That's the Secretary of Defense. I'm not suggesting he gets fired. If you're going to fire someone, Waltz, replace with General Flynn. But I hope he keeps Hegseth in there. But that said, what are Europeans thinking of this discussion? And if it is classified, why would Goldberg release it? I mean, God is allowing all of these things. You can see the divide between America and Germany. It's growing by the day. And this is significant. From a prophetic standpoint, I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It is pathetic. It's pathetic, says Hegseth. It says here, as I heard it, this is further on, a message from SM, whoever that is. The president was clear, green light, but we soon make clear to Egypt and Europe what we expect in return. Look, if we're going to help you, if we're going to make those shipping lanes safe, in Suez or wherever, then you're going to have to pay your fair share, Egypt and Europe. This is the American first agenda. You know, I think it was a Democrat in the hearing this morning who at one point said, America first shouldn't mean America alone. It's not often that I, take note of a comment by a Democrat. But this is where it's headed. Eventually, I mean, right now there's enough strength there to push the America First agenda. There is a resurgence at home because of sealing the border and other things that will soon play out with the economy and so on. But America soon will be alone as the world realigns and in opposition to the United States. Now, the Israelite countries, UK and Canada, this is fascinating to watch there because the whole race for prime minister in that nation is basically centering on opposing Donald Trump, Orange Hitler. He's at the center of everything internationally. And it's not all good. Never mind what Witkoff says about all these stunning successes abroad. This world's about to explode. And we're seeing it dramatically realign. I mentioned that Jonathan Turley speech, or rather it was an article, yesterday, the part where he said Europe lacks a Charlemagne. He was at this World Forum in Berlin and then wrote about it. Each year, leaders, executives, journalists, and academics gather to address the greatest threats facing humanity. This year, there was little doubt about what they view as the current threat: the resurgence of populism and free speech. Translation, Donald John Trump. Orange Hitler. That's the greatest threat facing America, or rather Europe. It's coming from America. I mean, you can see the Bible talks about our lovers betraying us. It's in the process. It's in the works. It says here, in fairness to the forum, a new world order likely sounds more ominous for some civil libertarians than intended. While the European Union is a transnational government stretching across 27 nations, the organizers were referring to a shift of values away from the United States away from the United States to Europe. We don't want America's values. We don't like the way America talks about us. We don't like them calling us names, freeloaders, constantly saying we're not paying enough. So we need to, and we don't like all of their free speech as well. We want more control here in Europe. I mean, these people will not waste a second to go after Google or to go after social media and to charge them billions if they can. The animosity is there. It's real. The shift from American to European values, where is that leading us? Even as Europe builds up its own military and talks about the need for nuclear weapons as a deterrent. I mean, just think about history for a moment. And Germany in particular. They don't typically build up an army or an arsenal, a military arsenal, for strictly defensive purposes. They've been known to go on offense, just so that you know. You'll see that in the Holy Roman Empire and Prophecy booklet. But they'll talk about defense, they'll talk about deterrent as they build the military machine for offense. That's right. They're going to go on the offensive. They're prophesied to. And more you can see clearly who their enemy is, their number one enemy. It says here, as one of the few speakers at the forum who was calling for greater protections for free speech, I found it an unnerving message. Even putting aside the implications of the New World Order, the idea of building a world on today's European values is alarming for free speech. I mean, that's basically what J.D. Vance said a few weeks ago. And Europe did not like it. And this is Jonathan Turley's take. I mean, he was there at the Berlin Forum. Yeah, European values, they don't exactly champion free speech the way that we do. He says further on about Europe lacking a Charlemagne. And then finally, the message was clear. The New World Order would be based on European, not American values. To rally the faithful to the cause, the organizer called upon two of the patron saints of the global elite, Bill and Hillary Clinton. So they made an appearance. There you go. I'm sure that was exciting for everyone to see. Thus far, European peace has come at the price of silencing many of those voices, achieving the pretense of consensus through coerced silence, Turley writes. Transnational governance requires consent over a wide swath of territory. The means that the control or cooperation of media and social media is essential to maintaining the consent of the governed. So the European system of values. Now, to some of the headlines we've had over the years, we talked recently about how that the German defense industry, the stocks, they're just booming because they're revving up the military machine, and it's going to rev up their economy as well. It always does. We had an article in 2022, Rising from the German Underground, the cover of that issue, the rise of German industry. And in that article, we talked about Angela Merkel and how that, she privately said to Donald Trump on the Nord Stream pipeline, the second one, I think it is, or was, that she saw problems with it, but German industry pushed ahead. They were wielding power. It says, on this issue, this is my father writing, German business leaders had enough power to overrule the chancellor. The people may vote for one thing, but if business leaders want something else, they win. And my father says, what does this mean? And why is it so important? If you know German history and Bible prophecy, few statements from a German leader could be more revealing and frightening. And what he's alluding to is what Mr. Armstrong said back in the 1940s and 50s. That when the Germans saw that they were going to lose, They went underground. The Nazi system, German industry that had helped build the military machine went underground. Well, now they're coming back. Another article from 2022, Germany is transforming before your eyes. I mean, again, we were talking about this when no one was talking about it. And now look at what's happening. I mean, it goes way back before 2022. As my father says here, for decades, the Trumpet has warned you to watch for a major change in Germany. It says, when German think tanks and generals spoke out saying Germany needed to become more robust militarily, we told you why this was significant. And then he gets into the Ukraine war that got started, I think, in February of that year, 2022. In Germany's conquest of the Balkans, I think that booklet might be up here somewhere. It's another one my father wrote. He says the historical plan of the European Union was to control a dangerous Germany, but it is clear that Germany is controlling the EU. And who was there back in the 1990s during Germany's conquest of the Balkans, reminding you of what Margaret Thatcher said about anchoring Germany to the EU? She says, no, you're going to be anchoring the EU to Germany. That's their history. That's been their history. It's time for us to wake up, this article says. Germany's power with the EU will grow until we can't stop it. And that's why we're sounding the alarm here. This is a power, and there's still some development ahead of it. We understand that. It's not like it's going to be ready next week. But this power out of the heart of Europe is going to grow and grow and grow until America and Britain cannot stop it. And that, as I say, is why these developments are so significant, because it's as if the beast power is being given the green light to build its military machine and no one cares. You turn on Morning Joe, Pete Hegseth. You got to get rid of him. He's a Fox News guy. We hate him. So we got to get, even though Walt set up the chat and Tulsi Gabbard's in there, Waltz is in there, Hegseth, the vice president, and who has to go? Well, of course it's Hegseth. He's the Fox guy. That's their hot take for the day. Why Germany just betrayed America. That's another one from 2022. If the United States is pushed out of Europe, the countries of Eastern Europe will need a new champion. This is really what's happening behind the scenes. It's not that America's leaving. I mean, that's a part of it. It's that America's being pushed out. They're not going to say it. There's not going to be some German chat room that gets revealed by a German journalist and says, hey, let's push America out. And if there was, Morning Joe wouldn't care. Every opportunity to stick it to Orange Hitler, to stick it to America. This is what it's leading to. America alone. Right now, it's America first. But America is a target, and it's becoming a bigger target for Europe. The significance of Germany's break from America. Guess when we posted that one? 2014. Tomorrow's news today, 2014. What makes the German-American split especially important is this. It's exactly what biblical prophecy told us would happen. This is from 2014. My father then goes through a prophecy in Ezekiel 23. We can maybe read a few of those verses in a second. But he says, for many years now, America has been encouraging Germany to take on a stronger global leadership role and even to strengthen its military might. This relationship ends with a massive double cross that brings these nations down. Tomorrow's news today, if you're not a subscriber to the Trumpet, you should be. I mean, again, there's no cost or obligation. Every month it comes out. Of course, all those articles, so many of them appear at our website as well, thetrumpet.com. But get the magazine as well, and get tomorrow's headlines today. Ezekiel 23 and verse 9 says, "Wherefore I have delivered her into the hand of her lovers, into the hand of the Assyrians." It says, upon whom she doted. God is going to deliver the Israelite nations. That would be America and Britain, even the little Jewish nation of Israel. He's going to deliver us into the hands of our lovers, the Assyrians. That's modern day Germany. It says here, Britain, well, backing up, this is the Nahum booklet. I'm throwing a lot of literature at you today, but you can go through all of this yourself if you like. America, Britain, and the Jewish nation of Israel almost grovel before Germany today. Britain tried that approach before World War II with Hitler. That approach will bring about our destruction. Instead of listening to God, they will try to deal with this vile leader who devises evil against God. It talks about this leader. They're waiting for their strong man. And when he gets in there, he's going to get in on flatteries. But then, as Nahum prophesies, Habakkuk, there's going to be a mind change. Verse 11, it says, "And when her sister Aholibah saw this, she was more corrupt in her inordinate love than she, and in her whoredoms more than her sister in her whoredoms." It says, "She doted upon the Assyrians, her neighbors, captains and rulers, clothed most gorgeously," it says, "horsemen riding upon horses." This is from Ezekiel 23. And as I say, that article from 2010, the significance of Germany's break from America, it goes through this in some detail. Hosea 5 talks about our peoples looking to the Assyrians for help. I mean, that shows just how bad it's going to get for America and Britain and Judah before all of this is said and done. Down in verse 22 of Ezekiel 23, it talks about the mind that is alienated. And as I say, you can look at other prophecies in Nahum and Habakkuk that talk about the mind change specifically. Lots and lots to keep up with. Of course, the master textbook on Bible prophecy is Herbert Armstrong's classic, The United States and Britain in Prophecy. If you don't have that one, make sure you add that to your library as well. As I said earlier, all of our literature is offered without cost or obligation. It's already been paid for. We just need to know where to send the material. When we come back, we'll roll through a few more headlines with what little time we have left. You're listening to Stephen Flurry, and this is the Trumpet Daily. We'll be right back.
Prosperity, government, trade, technology, stability, freedom. The last 2 centuries have been the exception in human history. How did we get here? The 19th century was dominated by an empire that exported civility, order, standards, and opened the doors for global trade. It ended slavery and implemented a system of governance that protected people's rights. And then in the 20th century, a new power came to dominate. Remarkably, one that would continue in the same traditions as its predecessor. For 200 years, the United States and Britain dominated the world stage. How did these two nations rise to prominence so suddenly? And why are their legacies so relentlessly attacked today? The astonishing truth is that your Bible prophesied the rise of Britain and the United States. It also prophesied their fall. The biblical identity of these two nations is the vital key that unlocks Bible prophecy. This lost master key to prophecy is revealed in Herbert W. Armstrong's most requested book, The United States and Britain in Prophecy. You must understand the biblical identities of these two nations to comprehend where we are in Bible prophecy today. To learn more about this vital truth, request your free copy of The United States and Britain in Prophecy.
Okay, well, look, the president, through proclamation, invoked his authorities under Alien Enemies Act, and what the media is not telling you is that that's a law passed by Congress, signed by the president. So he's taking his executive privilege and invoking that Alien Enemies Act, which is the right thing. There's been numerous investigations, deep investigations. We know that Trend Iowa come to this country, to unsettle this country. They're connected to the Maduro regime, to the military and law enforcement. We know that. So they came to this country to commit violent crimes, to spread fentanyl, to kill 1,000 Americans, and create havoc and unsettle this nation. TDA is an enemy of the United States, just by the mere fact of what they did when they got here. Well, I found it remarkable that any district judge has the authority to overrule the president's executive orders. We're not going to stop doing what we're doing. We're going to arrest aliens today. We're going to arrest TDA today. We're going to deport TDA today. We're going to deport criminals every single day. ICE is out there right now. I just looked at the numbers. There are about 40,000 arrested by ICE in the interior since President took office. The vast majority of them being public safety threats and national security threats. They're not going to stop us. A district court judge isn't going to stop us from making this country safe again.
I mentioned the resurgence here in the United States, and this is a big reason why it's happening, and happening fast. I mean, this is just 2 months. Well, weeks ago, we were talking about what the Trump administration was accomplishing in just the first 7 to 10 days. Listen to the governor of Texas. He's a border state. He has a long border with Mexico. And listen to what he said a few days ago, clip 12.
The immediate aftermath of the Trump election and Trump taking office, it's gone from 11 million people across the border illegally to just a trickle, as in just a handful of people. I was with some officials from El Paso last night, and they said that where there had been 3,000 people crossing the border sometimes a day just in El Paso, there were now nine people a day. And the people who do make it across the border now, they are immediately arrested and then deported, and as a result, discouraging people from entering the border again.
Can you believe this? In just one port entry alone, El Paso, from 3,000 to 9? 9 every day? I mean, this is what it's like to have a government come in and actually care about its citizens, its nation, securing its border, as every sane country in the world would obviously do. That's some dramatic action that's gotten some results quickly. And judges are, I mean, the judges are the last line of defense. This is from the Washington Times. President Trump is in a public wrestling match with Chief Justice Roberts. He's the one that gave a slap on the wrist to Donald Trump for dare criticizing President Boasberg. It says here, along with congressional lawmakers, Mr. Trump has called for impeaching several district judges. It says further on, in Trump's first 60 days, Democrats have filed more than 125 lawsuits challenging his policies. This is just crazy. You talk about a war with TDA, the gang from Venezuela. This is war. This is war with gangsters in government, with gangsters in black robes. It's Trump versus the courts. This is the New York Times. President Trump has wasted no time in his second term declaring war on the nation's federal judiciary. He's the problem because he says some federal judge somewhere needs to be impeached. And if you're the New York Times, I mean, this is dangerous. This is leading to violence. Say the people who impeached Trump twice. You can't criticize a judge. How dare you? Real clear politics. Impeachment as a check on the judiciary. It's a forgotten precedent. The key distinction between a bad decision and an impeachable ruling is that the latter falls into a pattern of rulings. Well, anyway, it talks about Trump in the New York Times piece in particular, Donald Trump attacking judges and how that this is obviously going to turn into violence in the streets. Now, actually, the violent offenders, the criminals, they're being removed from the streets. And you have these talking heads that are defending the indefensible. Listen to Jonathan Karl. I think this was on Sunday, clip 8.
Let me ask you one specific example, and there are many, but one specific example is somebody that was on one of those flights. His name is Jersey Reyes Barrios. He is was a professional soccer player in Venezuela, and his lawyer says that he was caught up in this because he had a tattoo that he said was chosen because it is a tattoo that is similar to the logo of his favorite soccer team, Real Madrid.
He's a soccer player defending the plane load of gang members. And here's Jonathan Karl saying, look, they're soccer players. He just had a jersey for Real Madrid. Yeah. They're defending these gangsters. They don't want them deported. They want them roaming the streets of America where they can continue to kill and rape and maim. Listen to this impeccable logic from CNN, clip 1.
Yeah, I think what's going to end up happening potentially is that undocumented migrants that largely obey the law are going to stop filing tax returns. And that's going to cause not just chaos, and the government won't know where everybody is. It's going to cost billions of dollars in revenue.
That's CNN saying that the illegals, the illegal immigrants, they're just good tax-paying, law-abiding citizens practically. And this is going to cost us billions. Notice what he said there at the start. I think what might end up happening potentially is that this is going to cost the United States billions and billions of dollars. No, it actually cost the U.S. taxpayers billions and billions of dollars to put them up in five-star hotels in Manhattan. And that insanity has finally come to an end, thanks to Donald Trump, thanks to Tom Homan. Now, I will admit, some of the talk, it's tough talk, and you'd like to see the authorities crack down on the resistance. But it is war between these judges, between these blue city mayors, between blue state governors. Listen to the mayor of Minneapolis, clip 9.
And I want all of you just to know exactly where we are as far as our neighbors go. Minneapolis will continue to be a safe haven for undocumented immigrants, for our trans community. Regardless of who you are or where you come from, Minneapolis is a place where you should be proud to call home.
Wow, he's still there. Jacob, I forget his last name. He was there during the Summer of Love, remember? When he went out and he was just mixing it up with all of the violent protesters that burned his city down. He sided with them. Not the city, not preserving the police precinct that they torched. Remember that? And he's still in power. You feel bad for the people of Minneapolis. And there he is, defiantly, saying we're going to be a safe haven. We're going to protect the illegal immigrants. These are people that should be arrested. And Homan has threatened it. But there comes a point, just like with Hamas, you can talk tough, and if you don't back it up with a show of force, if you don't back it up with action, well, you're going to get speeches like this. Listen to the mayor of Boston, clip 10.
We stand with immigrants. You belong here. Somos una ciudad de inmigrantes. Boston doesn't back down. We are a city where the Irish coffee is strong and our opinions are stronger. We may not always agree or see eye to eye, but at the end of the day, we are a family. If you come for one of us, you will get all of us.
There you go. That's almost like a threat to Homan. If you come for one of us, we're all going to fight you. It's hard to believe that they can get away with this. And their city, of course, they change the crime statistics. They don't count so much of it that's happening because of the illegals. They're just in the shadows. They're able to roam. They're able to murder, to rape, to maim. And you've got people like this, elected representatives, elected leaders that give them the protection from law and order, from the authorities. It's really amazing that Donald Trump and his administration is able to get anything done. He definitely has learned a lot since the first go-round. And if he learned what he needed to learn when they attacked General Flynn, when they destroyed General Flynn, very nearly, and it was early on, and Mike Pence got caught up into it, stabbed Flynn in the back. You hope that Donald Trump this time around will stand by his cabinet picks and defend them. We'll see what happens. I mean, we're fine, as I said earlier, we're fine with the switcheroo if it puts General Flynn back in. But that probably won't happen. The email feedback that we've waited and waited on, because we just haven't had time, so much going on. This is from Georgia. I'm so excited. I watch the podcast every day on Rumble, and I love it. I've turned a bunch of my friends onto it as well. I just love it. And it's so refreshing to hear someone speak the truth and to tie in the Bible. It's the only show I know like that. My friends are equally impressed. I've started requesting your books so I can read them and make little outlines. And then my friends and I discuss them together. I think 3 others have contacted you and ordered America Under Attack. That book is very pertinent to the times we're living in. And it has so much information. Again, it's amazing to see the accuracies and biblical tie-in of your materials. If you'd like to email the show, you can reach us at td@thetrumpet.com. Another one writes, today's show brought me closer to God in repentance. The Bible study you gave about the lost sheep and the prodigal son had me in tears. The Lord found this sheep at the bottom of the dunghill. He's called me and he's had so much mercy. I'm now in God's true church, about to be baptized. And it says, and also your life and teachings class has made God and Christ so much more real to me. Thank you so much for all the great work that you guys do. This one here comes from British Columbia. It says, thank you and the best team. Thank you to you and the best team in broadcasting for your great efforts and hard work on the most inspiring, insightful, historically accurate show that I've ever seen. It says, God will and is moving this work to the whole world. You're speaking fearlessly and fervently. The very words of the Most High, Lord God Almighty, is very inspiring, uplifting, and has been a great blessing for the brethren around the world. Thank you, and also to your team there at headquarters. This one here I love. It says, you have to stop. We know Europe's a problem. We know Germany's a problem. We know the Middle East is a problem. We also know God is the only one that can fix that. You have beat this to death, it says. Wow. We get it. I used to watch you all the time. There's so much domestic news, but you refuse to report it. I'll be back when you have new material. Stop talking about Europe. Stop talking about the rise of the beast. That's not important. Let God take care of that. And instead, focus on the good news domestically. Well, we give balance on this show, but in these last several weeks, it's hard not to talk about the signature prophecy of Herbert Armstrong going back to the 1940s. It's hard not to when you see it being fulfilled. That's all we have time for on today's show. If you email us again, td@thetrumpet.com. You're listening to Stephen Flurry, and this is the Trumpet Daily. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.